colleagues. I would like to present to you AI on Guard for Drug Safety, 10 ways a QPPV can turn chaos into order with NotebookLM and Gemini. Introduction: Why pharmacovigilance needs an upgrade. Colleagues, let's be honest. Being a QPPV, qualified person for pharmacovigilance, means living in a state of constant information overload. Hundreds of pages of GVP modules, endless ICSR reports, and new regulatory requirements that are released while we sleep. The cost of an error here isn't just a fine, it's patient health. But what if I told you we now have a digital exoskeleton? I have adapted Google's latest tools, NotebookLM and Gemini, to the strict realities of our GXP industry. These aren't just chatbots. This is a closed, secure system that doesn't hallucinate, because it operates strictly on your documents. Today, I'll show you 10 ready-to-use business cases on how to turn document chaos into a clear, structured decision-making system. Part 1. The Toolkit, a quick crash course. Before we dive into the workflows, let's define the roles of our new digital assistants and address the most critical question in our industry: data safety. The roles. NotebookLM, your vault. Think of this as your closed, secure digital archive for pharmacovigilance. This is where we safely upload everything: PDFs containing GVP modules, XML reports, video recordings from EMA or FDA conferences, and your internal standard operating procedures, SOPs. Crucially, this acts as a fenced environment. The data stays within your notebook and isn't scattered across the web. Gemini, your validator and analyst. This is the intelligence engine that connects to your vault. It acts as a specialized assistant that has instantly read every single one of the 5,000 pages you uploaded. It answers questions using only the facts found in those documents, a technology called grounding, effectively eliminating the risk of hallucinations. It doesn't guess, it cites. The elephant in the room: confidentiality and GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. As QPPVs, we are trained to be paranoid about data security. The very idea of uploading a PSMF or an ICSR to an AI sounds like a compliance nightmare. However, the game changes when we move from consumer tools to the enterprise environment: Gemini 3 Pro and NotebookLM for business. Here is how you maintain strict confidentiality and GDPR compliance: the no training guarantee. In the enterprise version of Gemini 3 Pro, Google explicitly states that your data is not used to train their models. When you upload a draft RMP or a proprietary strategy document, it does not become part of the public brain. It remains isolated in your company's private cloud instance, encrypted both in transit and at rest. GDPR and data processor status. Under the EU General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, your company remains the data controller, while the platform acts as the data processor. To remain compliant, data minimization. While the system is secure, the golden rule of PV still applies. Never upload direct patient identifiers, names, phone numbers, raw medical records into any cloud environment. Pseudonymization: continue to use standard pharmacovigilance practices. Refer to patients by case ID or initials. For example, patient X from case UK 2025-001. As long as the data is pseudonymized and the platform is contractually bound not to use the data for its own purposes, which the enterprise license ensures, you remain compliant. The closed loop. NotebookLM allows you to create specific notebooks for specific projects. You can share a mock inspection notebook with your audit team without exposing it to the marketing department. This granular access control is essential for maintaining the integrity of the pharmacovigilance system master file. Summary: we are using these tools not as a public search engine, but as a private, secure analytical layer on top of our own proprietary data. Part 2. 10 business cases for implementation. from routine to strategy. Now that our secure environment is set up, let's look at how this changes your daily life as a QPPV. Here are 10 concrete workflows where AI moves from a novelty to a necessity. Case number 1, instant regulatory adaptation. The problem: the EMA or FDA just released a new 200-page guidance document. You need to update your standard operating procedures, SOPs, and train your staff immediately. In the past, this meant a week of manual reading, cross-referencing, and stress. The solution: ingestion. Upload the new draft GVP module, PDF, and your company's current relevant SOP into NotebookLM. Gap analysis. Instead of reading side by side, ask Gemini to identify the top 3 critical differences that could lead to fines or audit findings. Visualization. Use the Canvas feature to request a flowchart of the new process. You can specifically ask it to highlight the new required steps in red to see the impact at a glance. Killer feature: training generation. Instantly generate a training deck and a quiz for your employees based only on the new changes, ensuring they focus on what matters, the result. You have a complete gap analysis, a draft of the updated process, and training materials in about 10 minutes. Try it yourself. The regulatory update. Prompt: copy and paste this command into Gemini after selecting your sources. Setup: select the source containing the new GVP module or guideline, PDF, and your current SOP, PDF. Prompt: act as a senior QPPV. Compare the uploaded new GVP guideline against my current SOP, insert SOP number. Gap analysis: identify the top 3 critical discrepancies where my current SOP fails to meet the new requirements. Cite specific page numbers from both documents. Process mapping: based on the new requirements, outline the steps for a revised workflow. Highlight which steps are new or modified. Training generation: create a short quiz, 5 multiple-choice questions, to test PV staff on these specific changes, including the correct answer key and rationale. Case number 2, signal detection 360 degrees, data stacking. The problem: signal detection often suffers from the silo effect. Patient complaints, individual case safety reports, live in your safety database. Scientific articles live in PubMed, and your risk management plan is a static PDF on a server. Vital connections are often lost in the gap between these systems. The solution: the setup. Create a specific project in NotebookLM and upload 3 distinct source types: your quarterly literature screening, abstracts and articles, an export of your individual case safety reports database, for example, a line listing in PDF or TXT, and your current risk management plan. The action: select all 3 sources to enable source stacking. This allows Gemini to analyze the relationships between the documents, not just within them. The query: you ask, is there a connection between the complaints of hearing loss in the individual case safety report file and the articles regarding our API's interaction with diuretics? Is this reflected in our risk management plan? Killer feature: the needle in the haystack. The AI identifies the link. The individual case safety reports file contains 4 weak signals of hearing loss. However, the uploaded article, author et al. 2025, confirms a mechanism of ototoxicity when your API is combined with diuretics. This risk is currently absent from your risk management plan and should be considered missing information. The result: you move from reactive processing to proactive risk management, potentially preventing a drug recall by validating a signal months before it becomes a crisis. Try it yourself: the triangulation. Prompt: copy and paste this command to cross-reference your data silos. Setup: select sources. literature abstracts, individual case safety report, database export, and current RMP. Prompt. Perform a triangulation analysis on the potential signal. Insert adverse event, for example, hearing loss. Cheer rank. Literature check. Summarize any mechanisms of action described in the uploaded articles regarding this event, and insert product name, check molecule. Database cross-reference. How many cases of this event appear in the individual case safety report file? What is the de-challenge or re-challenge status for these cases? RMP verification. Is this risk currently listed in the risk management plan? If so, under which category? Identified, potential, or missing information? Conclusion. Based on the above, draft a signal evaluation paragraph suitable for a periodic safety update report or periodic benefit risk evaluation report, citing the specific references found. Case number 3, mock inspection, the angry inspector simulator. The problem: it's the night before a major audit, FDA, EMA, or national authority. You are the QPPV. You vaguely remember there were late submissions 6 months ago, but the specific details of the corrective and preventive action plan are fuzzy. You are unprepared for a deep dive interrogation. The solution. The setup. Open a project notebook titled Inspection Readiness. Preload your PSMF, deviation logs, and corrective and preventive action plan reports. Context recovery. First, get the facts straight. Ask. Find all submission deviations from last year. What was the documented root cause for the incident in March? The system instantly recalls Vigilance Gateway failure, ticket IT 404. Killer feature, roleplay mode. Now turn the AI into your sparring partner. Command it. Act as an aggressive FDA inspector. Ask me the most provocative questions regarding this failure, and tell me how to answer based on our documents to prove the system is under control. The simulation. The AI launches an attack. Why did you fail to notify us within 24 hours of the outage? Immediately followed by the defense. Answer by citing Annex 3 of the Business Continuity Plan, which states notification is only required after 48 hours of downtime. Here is the quote. The result: you walk into the interview room not with shaking hands, but armed with specific citations and a rehearsed defense strategy. Try it yourself, the QPPV defense. Prompt. Copy and paste this to simulate a high-pressure audit interview. Setup. Select sources, PSMF, deviation log, and corrective and preventive action plan reports. Prompt. Review the deviation regarding late submissions from insert date and month. Fact retrieval. What was the documented root cause and the exact ticket ID for this failure? Roleplay. Act as a skeptical FDA inspector. Ask me a challenging, probing question about why this failure was not detected earlier. Defense strategy. Distinct from the roleplay, draft a response for me to give. Support the answer by quoting the specific Business Continuity Plan, or SLA section, found in the uploaded documents to prove we were compliant with our backup procedures. Case number 4, Safety Data Exchange Agreement and Pharmacovigilance Agreements Management, the legal shield. The problem: you are in a dispute with a partner regarding submission timelines. They sent a serious adverse event on day 15. You argue it's late. They claim the contract gives them 20 days because it originated from a non-interventional study. You don't have time to reread a 50-page contract to prove them wrong. The solution, the setup: create a Safety Data Exchange Agreement Registry notebook and upload PDFs of all your active safety data exchange agreements and pharmacovigilance agreements. The action: open the chat and target the specific partner's agreement. The query: Ask, find the section on Timeline for Reporting in the agreement with Partner X. What are the specific deadlines for serious adverse events from non-interventional studies? The insight. Gemini responds with a citation. Clause 4.2 states, solicited reports from non-interventional studies must be forwarded within 15 calendar days. The partner is in breach. Killer feature, the legal shield. Command the AI. Write a formal notification of failure letter to the partner, quote these specific contract clauses, and demand they open a corrective and preventive action plan. The result, you instantly prove your position and generate a formal legal document without needing to involve the legal department. Try it yourself. The Safety Data Exchange Agreement Enforcer. Prompt. Copy and paste this to resolve contract disputes in minutes. Setup. Select the source containing all active safety data exchange agreements or pharmacovigilance agreements. PDFs. Prompt. Search the Safety Data Exchange Agreement, DIARD, or Pharmacovigilance Agreement with Partner. Insert partner name. Timeline check. Extract the specific reporting timeline required for solicited reports originating from non-interventional studies. Quote the exact clause number. Compliance check. If I received in serious adverse event on day 15 and the limit is insert limit days, is this a late case? Action. Draft a formal notification of failure letter to the partner. Reference the specific contract clause violated and request a corrective and preventive action plan investigation within 5 business days. Case number 5. Local literature screening, the time saver. The problem, the weekly drudgery. You have a folder containing 50 PDFs from non-indexed local medical journals. You have to read them all to find mentions of your product. 99% of them are irrelevant, but you can't skip a single page. It consumes an entire day. The solution, the setup. Create a new source in NotebookLM and bulk upload all 50 PDF articles at once. The action. Instead of reading, you issue a scanning command. The query. Scan all articles. Find mentions of drug N. For every mention, check if the 4 criteria for a valid case, identifiable patient, reporter, suspect drug, adverse event, are present. Killer feature, auto-generated line listing. The AI generates a structured table for you. Article by Petrenko. Mention found, but invalid. Discusses efficacy only, no adverse event. Article by Smith. Valid case. Patient M, 45 years old, developed a rash. Page 4, paragraph 2. The result. Instead of a full day of reading, you spend 10 minutes verifying the AI's findings. Try it yourself. The Lit Screener. Prompt. Copy and paste this to process local journals in seconds. Setup. Select the source containing batch of local journal articles, PDFs. Prompt. Screen all uploaded articles for mentions of the product. Insert product name. For every article found, perform a validity check based on the 4 minimum criteria: identifiable patient, reporter, suspect drug, adverse event. Output format. Create a table with the following columns: article title and author, validation status, valid or invalid, reason, for example, no adverse event mentioned, or valid case, rash described. Page reference. Only list articles where the drug is mentioned. Case number 6. The living master file, the pharmacovigilance system. Master file. The problem. The pharmacovigilance system master file is a monster document with dozens of annexes, A through I. If a single detail changes, for example, you switch your archiving vendor, you have to update the information in 4 or 5 different places. If you miss one, you have a discrepancy during an inspection. The solution. The setup. Upload the main body of the Pharmacovigilance system master file and all its annexes into NotebookLM. The action: when a business change occurs, simply ask the system for an impact assessment. The query: we are changing our archiving provider from Iron Mountain to Local Archive Lility. List every section and annex where archiving or the specific vendor is mentioned. The insight: the AI acts as a find tool on steroids, locating context across multiple files. You need to update Section 3.4 of the main text, Annex B, List of Contracts, and Annex E, Computerized Systems. Killer feature, Automated Logbook. Ask, draft the text for the Pharmacovigilance system. Master File Logbook of Changes, Annex I for version 15.0, describing this vendor change. The result: you guarantee data consistency across your company's most critical document before any audit. Try it yourself. The GNIS Pharmacovigilance System Master File Updater. Prompt: copy and paste this to manage version control effortlessly. Setup: select sources, Pharmacovigilance System, Master File Body, and all annexes. Prompt: we are changing our archiving vendor from old vendor name to new vendor name. Impact assessment. Scan the entire PSMF and all annexes. List every specific section number and annex name where the old vendor or the term archiving is mentioned. Logbook entry. Draft a text for the Pharmacovigilance System Master File Logbook of Changes, Annex Y, for the next version update. Briefly describe the change of vendor and list the sections modified. Case number 7. Patient Support Programs, Call Center Audit, Quality Control. The problem: operators in patient support programs are often non-medical staff following a script. There is a high risk that an operator hears a patient mention feeling a bit dizzy and dismisses it as small talk rather than recording it as an adverse event. This leads to underreporting and compliance gaps. The solution: the setup. Upload a batch of call transcripts, anonymized, and your official AE handling instructions, or operator script, into NotebookLM. The action: instead of manually listening to hours of calls, ask the AI to audit the text. The query: analyze the dialogues. Find instances where a patient mentioned a health issue, but the operator failed to ask the mandatory clarifying questions or fill out the adverse event form. The insight: the AI flags a specific file, dialogue number 456. Patient said, "I felt a little sick after taking it," but the operator replied, "That is normal," and ended the call. This is a potential missed adverse event, nausea. Killer feature, auto-coaching. Command the AI. Write a feedback script for this operator. Explain why this was an error according to our instructions, and provide an example of how they should have responded empathetically. The result: you detect hidden cases of underreporting and automate your vendor quality control process. Try it yourself. The Call Auditor. Prompt: copy and paste this to catch missed safety data. Setup: select sources, call transcripts, and adverse event handling instructions. Prompt: analyze the uploaded call transcripts for quality assurance. Detection: identify any dialogues where a patient mentions a potential adverse event, health issue, side effect, discomfort, but the operator failed to explicitly ask the mandatory clarifying questions or mention reporting procedures. Gap analysis. Compare the operator's response in transcript insert ID against the AE handling instructions. What specific step was missed? Coaching. Write a constructive feedback script for this operator. Explain the missed adverse event, for example, insert symptom, and provide a model example of what they should have said to show empathy and capture the data. Case number 8. The Label Police, and core company datasheet versus local summary of product characteristics. The problem: the global safety team updates the core company datasheet with a new risk, for example, Stevens-Johnson syndrome. However, your local affiliate, for example in a specific country, fails to update their local label, summary of product characteristics, or United States prescribing information on time. This creates a reference safety information mismatch, leading to audit findings and incorrect causality assessments. The solution: the setup. Upload your current core company datasheet, core label, and the local national SMPC or label PDFs into NotebookLM. The action: ask Gemini to perform a cross-check of Section 4.8, undesirable effects. The query: compare Section 4.8 of the core company datasheet against the local SMPC. List any adverse reactions present in the core company datasheet that are completely missing or described with lower severity in the local summary of product characteristics. The insight: the core company datasheet lists anaphylaxis as rare. The local summary of product characteristics lists it as unknown frequency. The core company datasheet lists urticaria, but it is missing entirely from the local summary of product characteristics. Killer feature: gap table. Ask, create a 3-column table. Reaction name, status in core company datasheet, status in local label. Highlight mismatches in bold. The result: 100% alignment between global and local safety information without manual line-by-line comparison. Try it yourself: the label aligner. Prompt: copy and paste this to prevent RSI non-compliance. Setup: select sources, core company datasheet and local summary of product characteristics, and/or label. Prompt: act as a regulatory affairs and/or pharmacovigilance manager. Compare the uploaded core company datasheet against the local summary of product characteristics. Safety information cross-check. Focus specifically on Section 4.3, contraindications, 4.4, warnings, and 4.8, adverse reactions. Discrepancy identification. List any medical terms or risks that appear in the core company datasheet, but are missing or less severe in the local summary of product characteristics. Output table. Present the findings in a table with columns. Section: core company datasheet text, local summary of product characteristics. Text: action required. Case number 9, the narrative architect. Source docs to narrative. The problem: writing case narratives is the most time-consuming part of case processing. A processor might spend 2 hours reading 50 pages of unstructured hospital discharge notes, scanned PDFs, just to write a 1-paragraph summary. The solution: the setup. Upload the anonymized and redacted source documents, hospital discharge summary, lab results, doctor notes, into a specific case notebook. The action: ask Gemini to extract the timeline and medical history. The query: read the discharge summary, extract the medical history, concomitant medications, and a chronological timeline of the adverse event onset and treatment. Killer feature: narrative drafting. Command: draft a CEOMS-compliant medical narrative based on these notes. Follow this structure: patient demographics, medical history, incident description, lab results. Action taken. Outcome: do not add facts not present in the source. The result: a processor turns 50 pages of medical jargon into a drafted narrative in 30 seconds, leaving them time only for quality control. Try it yourself: the narrative builder. Prompt: copy and paste this to speed up case entry. Setup: select source, anonymized hospital notes and source documents. Prompt: act as a PV case processor. Read the uploaded medical notes. Extraction: List all start and end dates for the suspect drug and the onset dates for the adverse events. Narrative draft. Write a medical case narrative in chronological order. Use professional medical terminology, med-DRA style. Start with, this spontaneous report describes a case of a age and gender patient. Include relevant medical history and concomitant medications. Event. Describe the onset, treatment given, and de-challenge status. Ending. State the final outcome. Fact check. If the discharge date is missing in the source, explicitly state discharge date not reported rather than guessing. Case number 10. The crisis communicator. Dear Healthcare Professional Letter Generator. The problem. A serious safety signal, for example cardiac arrest, is confirmed. The regulatory authority demands a draft, Dear Healthcare Professional letter on their desk within 24 hours to warn doctors. You are staring at a blank page, stressed. The solution, the setup. Upload the signal assessment report, technical data, and a previous approved Dear Healthcare Professional letter as a style template. The action. Use the style of the old letter, but the facts from the new report. The query. We need to warn doctors about the risk of cardiac arrest. Use the tone and structure of the old Dear Healthcare Professional letter template, but insert the data and recommendations from the signal assessment report. Killer feature, tone adaptation. Ensure the tone is urgent and authoritative, but not panic-inducing. Highlight the recommendations to physicians section in bold. The result. A 90% complete draft ready for medical director review in minutes, allowing you to focus on the distribution strategy. Try it yourself. The Dear Healthcare Professional letter writer. Prompt. Copy and paste this for rapid crisis response. Setup. Select sources. Signal assessment report. And Dear Healthcare Professional letter template. Prompt. Draft a Dear Healthcare Professional letter regarding the newly identified risk of insert risk name. Style transfer. Use the formatting, greeting, and closing style of the uploaded Dear Healthcare Professional letter template. Content injection. Summarize the key safety data from the signal assessment report. Explain why this risk is happening, mechanism of action, and the incidence rate. Call to action. Create a clear bulleted list of recommendations for healthcare professionals on how to minimize this risk. For example, monitoring contraindications. Tone. Professional, direct, and focused on patient safety. Conclusion. These 10 cases prove one thing. AI isn't coming to take the QPPV's job. It's coming to take the QPPV's boredom. By automating the find and compare functions, we reclaim our time for the think and decide functions. Start with case number 1 today, and welcome to the era of PV 2.0. The golden rule of AI and GXP, trust but verify, the source guide. We have covered 10 powerful use cases. But before you start uploading documents, we must address the single most important habit you need to build. In pharmacovigilance, an unverified fact is a potential finding. In standard open AI models, like the public version of ChatGPT, you often get an answer that sounds right but might be completely made up, that is, hallucination. NotebookLM is different because of grounding. Here is how you perform the grounding check, your manual validation step that keeps you compliant. The little gray numbers are your audit trail. When NotebookLM answers your prompt, for example, what is the reporting timeline for NIS, you will see small gray citation numbers at the end of the sentence, like this one or this two. Do not ignore them. These are not just decorations. They are the link to the truth. The verification workflow, human in the loop. To use this tool in a professional setting, you must adopt this 3-step reflex. Step 1, The hover. Hover your mouse over the citation number. A small preview box will pop up, showing the exact text segment the AI used to generate that answer. Step 2. The click. Click on the number. NotebookLM will instantly open the original PDF. For example, your Safety Data Exchange Agreement contract on the left side of the screen, and highlight the exact paragraph in blue. Step 3. The confirmation. Read the highlighted text. Does it actually say 15 days? Or did the AI misinterpret 15 working days as 15 calendar days? The silent alarm. If Gemini gives you an answer without a citation number, stop immediately. This means the AI is speaking from its general training, rather than your specific documents. In a GXP environment, general knowledge is dangerous. Rule of thumb: if there is no citation, the answer does not exist in your files. Redo the prompt or verify manually. Summary. Think of NotebookLM not as an oracle that gives you answers, but as a super fast junior officer who points you to the right page. You never sign the report based on what the junior officer said. You sign based on the page they showed you. Disclaimer and educational notice. Author's note: this video presentation was created with the assistance of artificial intelligence tools to demonstrate the potential capabilities of large language models in the pharmaceutical industry. Important legal and regulatory disclaimers. Educational purpose only. The business cases, prompts, and workflows described in this video presentation are for educational and illustrative purposes only. They are intended to spark a discussion within the professional community regarding the future of technology and pharmacovigilance, not a recommendation. This content does not constitute professional advice, regulatory guidance, or a formal recommendation to implement specific software. Compliance responsibility. The use of any AI tool in a GXP, good practice environment, requires strict adherence to local laws, general data protection regulation, data privacy regulations, and validation requirements, stated in 21 CFR Part 11 in the United States and EU Annex 11 Computerized Systems in the European Union. Human oversight. Pharmacovigilance is a critical discipline involving patient safety. AI tools should never be used as a substitute for human judgment. The qualified person for pharmacovigilance, QPPV, retains full responsibility for the accuracy and integrity of the pharmacovigilance system. Let's continue the discussion. How do you see these tools fitting into your daily PV workflow? Share your thoughts, and let's build the future of drug safety together.